You never want to think that the people you surround yourself with could ever do you harm, that someone you love and trust would ever do, much less want to do anything to hurt you. These people you love and trust should protect you from those who would slither in the dark, not become one of them. For me and many others, that doesn't always ring true. Sometimes those people you love end up hurting you more than any stranger or imaginary evil ever could. I won't pretend to relate to Dimitri in this moment, and especially to the victims of familial abuse, but there is truly no greater despair than the sting of betrayal, trust me on that. But when you're cut to the core like this, when all your armor and protections are ripped away from you instantly, is what you're left with at that moment the real you? The one with no lies, no barriers, no facades? Is what a person does in their darkest moments the most accurate reflection of themselves? I'll come back to that question a little later. Hate is a common motivation among video game protagonists, from its earliest and somewhat masturbatory iterations with Doomguy and Kratos, to more modern, nuanced approaches like Ellie and Kratos. But I found myself far more shaken by a unique interpretation of hatred, as something about Dimitri's twisted desire just felt so personal. Dimitri is a disturbing manifestation of hate. Usually when a character snaps, it's in the moment their loved one is taken away from them. But for Dimitri, it might possibly be more sickening than that. He's had years not to get over, but to ease the pain of losing his family, and while still determined to get them justice, he certainly doesn't come off as deranged when the subject of his parents are broached. But when he assumed that unknown assailants committed the tragedy of Duska, it was easy for him to imagine them as creatures of pure evil, as there was no face to put to the name, and he could never imagine it being someone close to him. But when the mask falls to the floor, it's not the only thing that shatters at that moment. What makes Dimitri's obsession with hatred so unique is that it's not the opening of the wound that blackens the soul, but it's having that gash ripped open again in the most traumatic way possible. While it's clear he still obsesses over his family's death, as the new Prince of Furiad, he was able to put his kingdom first, bury those dark thoughts within him, and present himself as a strong and capable leader, albeit with a lack of tolerance for those who harm the innocent. But when he sees Edelgard, or to him, El's face under that mask, something strange happens. In all the years he spent fantasizing about this moment of butchering the object of his hate, how he's replayed this moment over and over again in his head, but despite how much he imagined this moment, something he never expected occurred. I think this is a significant reason why he snaps instead of breaking down. A normal person would be in too much despair to fight back if it was revealed that someone they cared about killed their family, but Dimitri goes straight to bloodletting. It's his desire for all things to be peaceful and orderly that when something he was so sure of is so wildly different, his mind literally can't handle this realization. It's so wrong for someone so particular about being right that he loses his sense of self to violent rage. To him, his entire moral belief of order and justice has been shattered. It's not enough that he had his family taken from him. There's no more Seros or righteousness in the world. He lived his whole life justified that he was in the right and would defeat the evil that stole his family, just for a sick revelation to rip away everything he believed in his own words asking if this is some kind of twisted joke. Even when this exhilarating rage subsides after he loses everything else in the world, that hatred for his stepsister still festers within him, contorting his body and mind into a disgusting vagrant who wants only to snap the neck of the only family he's got left. But is that the honest Dimitri? Is Felix right, and he's nothing more than a psychotic boor looking to disembowel anyone who would stand in his way? Or was this an honourable and kind young man who broke under pressure that no character, no matter how righteous, could stand against? The answer for him and for every character and person fueled by hate is the same. No. No one is born into this world to be hateful. We as humans aren't created to be vile and monstrous. Every angry and hateful person out there in the world was created, either by their parents or calamity or some other horrible event. Awful people aren't born, they're made. Dimitri, Ellie, Kratos, these characters are almost never their true selves. Those people died along with their loved ones, and the spectres of hate possessed their husks and paraded as normal people until those husks collapsed and those spirits dissipated, but those husks remained just as empty as when they were inhabited. I'll be back in 2 days. If you want to see another video about hatred, here's one comparing them in The Last of Us Part 2 and Dishonored.